with you today, just to make sure that you've seen it since I haven't been here. If you're comfortable with it, if you've looked at it and you feel good about it, that's fine. And if not, then please pay attention. I'll try not to waste much time and get through this for you. All right, so lesson 57 is changing mixed numbers to improper fractions. We're taking word phrases and writing them into numbers and symbols. So 2 1/2 as a fraction looks like this. 2 1/2 of is times what number is 7 1/3. All right, we have mixed numbers. We have to change those to an improper fraction to be able to solve. So this becomes 5/2 times what number is 22/3 by multiplying and adding. Okay. Now the reason we change it to an improper fraction is because we have this multiplication. In order to solve for our variable Wn, we have to multiply by the reciprocal of the coefficient, and the reciprocal of 5/2 is 2/5. So we multiply both sides by 2/5. There isn't anything in between 22/3 and 2/5 that will reduce on top and bottom, so we just multiply across. 44/15. Okay, so we've done these problems already. We just haven't had mixed numbers. Change those to improper fractions. Okay. Another one, 2 1/5 of 8 1/8 is what number? We already have the variable by itself over here, which is what we want. So we just need to change our two mixed numbers to improper fractions. Okay, so 2 1/5, that's 10 plus 1 is 11/5 times 8 times 8. 64 plus 1 is 65/8. We do have some simplification we can do on this problem by reducing the 5 and the 65 to 1 and 13. And then we take 11 times 13. 11 times 13, and that equals, if I can get my calculator to work, 11 times 13 is 143. Okay. We didn't have to multiply by the reciprocal on this one because both fractions are on the same side of the equal sign. Okay. When they're not on the same side, then you have to multiply by the reciprocal. Oh, this is the same type of problem. 3 1/2 of 6 1/4 is what number? Again, they're already on the same side over here together of the equal sign. So just change them to improper fractions. And then look for things that reduce. There isn't here. 7/4 is $1.75. So that'd be 175/8. We are going to leave the answers as improper fractions. And our last one, 3 1/4 of what number is 6 1/8. Again, here's where they are on opposite sides. The fractions are on opposite sides of the equal sign. So we're going to change them to improper fractions still. 13/4 times Wn equals 49/8. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of the coefficient. The coefficient is the fraction with your variable, or on the side of the equal sign with your variable. So 4/13. And then we can reduce 4 and 8 to 2 and 1. And what number is equal to 49/26? Okay. So that's oh, we have one more. What fraction, so this one's a little bit different because they're asking for the fraction, of 3 2/5 is 9 7/8. The two fractions are still on opposite sides of the equal sign, so I have what fraction times, I'm going to change these to improper fractions, 72, 79 over 8. And then we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of the coefficient, the fraction with your variable on the side of your variable. So I'm going to multiply by 5/17, 5 over 17. I don't believe that 79 and 17 will reduce. Nope, so we just multiply across 79 times 5. 79 times 5 is 395. And 8 times 17 on my calculator gives me 136. So that is the fraction for that answer. Okay, that's lesson 57. Now let's look at lesson 58. Lesson 58 has some notes. And those of you who might be working on your homework already, because you're not listening to this, I do have some stuff I want you to write down out of this lesson. It's very important to have this in your notes. So please watch the beginning of this lesson for sure. Probably wouldn't hurt to watch the lesson worked out, because this is a little different than what we've been doing. It's called distance problems. Speed is the same thing as a rate. If you're traveling at a high rate of speed, you're traveling at a high speed. Speed is rate. It's the same thing. We've been dealing with rates this year on the problems where it'll say write the two rates. You'll write them inverse of each other. A rate is a comparison of two things, and in speed we generally are talking about miles per hour. They'll also put kilometers per hour or feet per second, those types of things. You're comparing two things. That's what makes it a rate. And speed is the comparison of how far you're traveling over a certain amount of time. Okay, and we have these formulas that you need to write down. Distance is equal to rate times time. And we're going to take the initials off of each of the words and create our formulas with those. Okay? But do write that distance equals rate times time. We use d is equal to rate times time for that formula. And then we can solve for rate by taking the distance divided by time, or that's speed is rate here. Is you take however far you're traveling over how long it takes to find your rate. And you do the same thing. You it's inverted a little bit. Take time, and you can find the time it's going to take to go somewhere or travel is distance divided by rate. Finding rate and time is similar to the idea we had where in the Pythagorean theorem, solving for A and B was the same formula. We just interchanged the A and B. That's what we're doing with solving for rate and time. So these three things are for sure what you need to have written down, and it'd be a real good idea to write this down above it first, excuse me, so that you know what the D, the R, and the T stand for, or when you go to look for those formulas, you can find them quicker in your notes. Okay. Now, how do we use them? Helen could travel 40 miles per hour, so we're given a rate. That's the rate. That's a speed, so it's a rate. How long would it take her to travel 600 miles? This is a distance. We're looking for how long it would take. That is time. So we're looking for time, and our formula for time was distance over rate. So we're just going to take and plug in those values. Distance is 600. The rate is 40. I'm going to do some reducing. Take off a 0 off of each. 60 divided by 4 is 15. 4 divided by 4 is 1. 15 over 1 is 15. And then do label this. How long would it take? It was in hours, so 15 hours. It's a very simple process, real basic. If you'll get these formulas, or these formulas for time, rate, and distance memorized, or at least have them accessible to you in your notes, and look back for them. Because all you have to do then is just plug in the two values you're given, whether it be rate, time, or distance. Harry could travel 35 miles in 7 hours. I'm going to go ahead and leave that there. All right. So what was his speed? So our speed we said was rate. Rate is equal to distance over time. The distance is 350. Time is 7 hours. Hopefully you guys can look at this. 7 divided by 7 is 1. 35 divided by 7 is 5. And then we have the 50. And we're talking about rate in miles per hour. So that's going to be 50 miles per hour, MPH, miles per hour. Part 2 here, B. How long would it take to travel 800 miles? So we're looking for how long is a time. Time is distance divided by rate. Distance on here is 800. They're wanting to know that the rate at this speed here, how long would it take to travel 800? So that's 50. Cancel off your zeros. 80 divided by 5 is 14. No, it's not. It's 16. 16 hours. And finally, at that same speed, how far could he travel in 12 hours? So we're given rate and we're given time here. How far could we travel as a distance? Now distance is a little different. Distance is equal to rate times time. We're multiplying those two values then. So the same rate or the same speed is 50 miles per hour. So 50, not 15, sorry. 50 times 12, that's the hours. And 5 times 12 is 60, so 50 times 12 would be 600 miles. Do label these, please. Their distance, their time. We need to be able to do that. I'm not going to have you use clickers, obviously, but I will do this problem with you. Mildred traveled the first 120 miles in 3 hours. What was their speed? Speed is rate. Rate is distance over time. 120 is the distance. First 120 in 3 hours. 12 divided by 3 is 4, so 120 divided by 3 is 40, and we're talking miles per hour. It's a rate. It's a speed. How long would it take her to travel 400 miles? How long would it take? And that's taker is spelled wrong, but it's time. Okay, time is equal to distance over rate. The distance was 400 miles at the same rate as we had on the previous problem of 40. Cancel your zeros. 40 divided by 4, all of you know that to be 10, and we're in hours, miles per hour, so that would have to be an hour. Okay. And I think we're going to call that good on that lesson. You got the idea. And now, lesson 59, which is what we're doing today. Just a review on solving proportions. And we'll get back into more of the proportion stuff in test prep when we want to get back. But just remember that we're using the butterfly method. Cross, multiply, and divide. Okay? You take your cross products. 4x equals 5 times 7 is 35. And then we divide by the coefficient. Just like we did in lesson 57. We're multiplying by the reciprocal. We're dividing by the coefficient. If you are someone that wants to do it the same every time, then please feel free to write these whole number values over 1 and multiply by the reciprocal of them. That's what we're going to be using today anyway, because we're going to be working with fractions. Here you go. Our proportions today are going to have fractions in them. Same exact process. Cross multiply, or find those cross products. So we have 5/8x. Going to write the first term with my variable first, or my term with the variable first. And then I'm going to take the cross product of 2/3 and 1/5. 2 times 1, just multiplying the items on top, is 2. 3 times 5 is 15. This looks just like lesson 57, except we have an x here instead of the wn for what number. So we're going to multiply by the reciprocal of that coefficient, which is 8/5. 8/5. There's anything on top or bottom that will reduce, so you just multiply across. 16 over 75. Leave it that way. We can't change that one anyway. Okay, we can start by moving this up a little bit. Give me some room here. Cross multiply or cross products. So I'm going to take 2/5 x, and that's going to be equal to this product. So I'm taking my top, or my numerators. 3 times 1 is 3. Denominator, 4 times 3 is 12. And then we multiply by the reciprocal of the coefficient. That's the fraction with the variable. So we want the reciprocal of 2/5, which is 5 over 2. 5 over 2. So x equals, we do have some stuff that will reduce. It's not diagonal from each other, but the 3 and the 12 will reduce to 1 and 4. So we could do that first. Now we multiply across, we get 5/8. This should be pretty simple if you're at all comfortable with fractions and multiplying by the reciprocal. That's it. I do want you to work problem set 59, 1 through 30. This is going to be due Wednesday. You do have an early seminar Wednesday morning. You can work on this. I know it's been a lot of homework, but that's not a bad thing as far as getting better at math. So there you go.